Hello and welcome back to this wonderful Friday afternoon. This is Easter weekend. March is pretty much out like a lamb, although this week it's been a lion. I think the rain's gonna stop any minute now. Maybe the sun will come out before the day's over, but behind me is a static display. Let me explain. A week ago today, I went to my buddy Chris's house just down the road. He and I trade all the time. Pieces, cars, whatever. Parts, lots of parts. Usually the trading is very fair. In fact, nothing I say in this video represents him. I'm not mad at him. No reason to be. Him or anybody else, when you and I make a deal and I leave with my junk, it's mine. My problem alone. I know some young kids now, they'll, in conversation, say they bought something 2 years ago and it didn't work out today, and they're gonna call the guy up and see if they can get the money back. I just shake my head. If you don't have the stomach for wheeling and dealing, and the fact that sometimes you're up and sometimes you're down. Now, I'm not a gambler monetarily, at least pure cash, but I don't mind gambling in parts. So, last Friday I went over to buy an intake manifold, tunnel ram. In conversation, I knew he had the motor itself I'd seen wrapped in plastic, fresh from the machine shop. 355, all forged bottom end. It does have a twin keyway crankshaft, a requirement, in my opinion, for a blower drive on a small block or a big block. Blower pistons, aluminum heads, which worried me a little bit. Supposed to have brand new cam and lifters, fresh. And then everything else my buddy's been collecting for 10 years probably. Holley blower carbs, a 671 with Y and N caps. It's fresh. And the drive, I mean, this stuff is ridiculously expensive if you were to buy it new. It's not new. The only pieces I'm aware that are new is the belt, cam and lifters maybe, a few other pieces. But I woke up that morning last Friday, wasn't aware, well, I was in the back of my mind aware that I had a desire to have a blown engine, and a small block has been I never had a good small block. I'm working on building a few of them. If you follow the channel, I hope you do. But I know my boyish good looks might lead you to believe I'm not approaching old. However, I was a child in the 70s on my bike, and in the 70s, if you wanted boost, this was it. Turbochargers were a small Gale Banks ad in the back of Hot Rod magazine. That was out there. Yeah, a few attempts have been made here and there. If you look at the old turbo stuff, pretty antiquated looking now. This setup really hasn't changed a whole lot. And it's a giant parasitic drag. It costs power to make power, but I'm not gonna drag race it. I want to street drive it. And that is where these really shine for lots of reasons. Visual appeal, the belt whine, that's what gets you, the instant throttle response. Not a bad deal. And again, a child of the 70s patrolling my neighborhood near the college on my pedal bike, occasionally you would hear that noise, that blower whine. And yeah, you never forget it. Of course, the movie Hollywood Nights with Project X. It sets something ingrained in your mind. It was dormant, a tiny burning ember, until last Friday, standing there talking to my buddy. He says, yeah, I think I'm gonna sell this. Well, no cash exchanged hands. We had a deal struck by the end of the day. I left his house, he came over to mine. I showed him a bunch of stuff I'd be willing to part with. He decided what he wanted, and that's done. We managed to have one decent day of weather this week, and we exchanged all our junk. And then the fun part, like Christmas morning, discovery. What do I have? I'd only seen the engine wrapped in plastic. Up until yesterday afternoon, it was still wrapped in plastic from the machine shop. That's going to factor in. And all the other pieces, I am the first one moments ago who have mocked up this stuff together because none of it is compatible. And I mean nothing. But we're going to make it fit. And none of this is unexpected. I only buy raw material. If something actually works first try, you know, I'd be really surprised. Now, the engine itself, I've never seen inside it. Fresh wrapped in a bag from the machine shop, would you take it apart? I was on the fence. I figured, you know, what's the worst that can happen? I'm not relying on it for transportation. Worst case, I got to call and get a ride to go get my trailer and bring my vehicle back, you know, because something failed that it could fail if I put it together. You know, I'm not all that, you know, but I do try to pay attention to things. So up until yesterday or last night, I was on the fence as to whether I would take the engine back apart that's brand new in the bag. It came with a shaft rocker setup, not installed. No push rods, rocker arms in a box. I got it up on the stand yesterday, looked everything over, identified the cylinder heads. That was my biggest worry. I was worried there'd be Speedmaster / ProComp, same company. I do occasionally use their products, and I know there's disappointment hidden in there somewhere. You're going to find it, and sometimes you can even make it work. Not what I was looking for. I was pleased, after a little research. These heads were marketed by Racing Power Corporation, RPC, but this head is sold by a lot of people, up to and including Airflow Research. They decided to jump on the China cylinder head bandwagon, and they chose these castings. And these were really hot 10 or 12 years ago. This particular set is made in August of 2016. I can see the date on them. And for a China casting, again, the AFR Enforcer head is this head. My particular set is RPC, but they're 210cc advertised, 64cc combustion chamber, straight plug. And all the cylinder head porters and everybody that's handled them say that the spacing on everything and the guides and the seats are all good stuff. I mean, China's capable of building good stuff if the person speccing it wants to spend the money. So these are not ProComp Speedmaster, thank you. And they're still a China head, but hey, allegedly at the machine shop, before it was wrapped in the bag, it had all new valves, larger valves installed. And so I get it unwrapped. I come out last night and I'm going to put the shaft rocker setup on enough to measure for push rods. The shaft rocker box is open, and I immediately realized that one, it looks like ProComp Speedmaster stuff, which I'm leery of. It was sold by Liberty Performance, but it's a white box part, and I noticed they don't sell it anymore. My gut feeling is they might have had some trouble with it, and Liberty Performance parts have a good reputation. They sell offshore parts as well, but as the offshore stuff goes, they're a couple clicks up the ladder, and I really haven't found anybody to say anything bad about their engine parts, for the most part, no more than anybody else's. So the box is Liberty Performance. Hey, let's take a look at it. The stuff doesn't feel bad. It doesn't look that bad. My attempt to install it enough so I could check for push rods ended when I was rolling the engine over. It didn't have a crank bolt in it, which allowed me to see that it had two keyways when I was looking at it before we made the swap, but stuck a crank bolt in it, started rolling it around, watching the lifters so I could put it on, position to start working on the number one cylinder. None of the lifters are moving. and they all seem to be really high in the block. And they won't come out. They won't go down, they won't come up. They're stuck, all 16 of them, in the bores. This is how I carefully got them out. That's about a 3-footer. Carefully on the valve cover surface with some rags. And I managed to get all the lifters out of the engine. Fresh from the machine shop. I'm the first one to take it out of the bag yesterday. Interesting. And the rocker arms are in a box. And missing, it's supposed to have 4 short head bolts. So right off the back, before I even discovered the lifter problem, I wasn't going to be able to install the shaft itself because it hits on the 4-cylinder head bolts. I could either take them out and cut them down in the lathe, which I might, but that became minor compared to the fact that none of the lifters would come out of the bores, nor will they touch the camshaft. Now, I thought to myself, and I've said this before, when I'm stripping a transmission, I only talk about what's in front of me. I'm not applying blame or any suspicious theories. However, there's no way, if you own an engine shop or you can even fog a mirror, you don't realize when you put 8 pairs of brand new Morel solid lifters, they're brand new, sitting over there, right there, unharmed. I got them out without hurting them. And the block, you put your finger in the bore, it's okay. So I had 2 other brands of lifters. I tried them all on the block, all with the same story. I take those Morels, M-O-R-E-L, and put them in my 421, and they drop right down on the camshaft. And my 421 has a small base circle camshaft, so they got to go down a little further. So there's just no way you don't notice when you put the lifters in the bores. Somebody had to hammer them down. They didn't just fall down there. They weren't down enough to touch the camshaft because none of them would move. If they were down, they were pushed back up and stuck. And I'm not talking a little bit of stuck. But fortunately, the lifters survived. And now, of course, there's no way to fix this. I'm hoping I'll be able just to find why the very bottom of the lifter bore is not round, or it's been bumped. I don't know what could have happened to it. I mean, the lifter bores in my 377 and 421 haven't been touched since Chevrolet did it. And they're fine. They drop in there like they belong. So, who knows? So, clearly now I have to take the engine apart. And I kind of wanted to anyway. Now I have to. Other than some gaskets. And I'll put a 1-piece gasket on the oil pan. I'll know what's in there. Time will tell. But all good raw material. This all usable parts. Has a brand new comp cams, blower camshaft, solid roller. We'll make it work. The rest of the parts. Now, again, none of this is sour grapes, but when I get something new or used, I put the rubber to the road. Everything's gonna leave here functioning. I'm the guy that's gonna do that. In this case, I'm doing it for myself. So part by part, it has, if you watch the thumbnail pictures or the opening pictures, I'll start in the back. It has a Vertex magneto that has an electronic ignition put inside it. It's just a fake magneto at this point. Made for the look, it's pretty popular. It came in a Joe Hunt magneto box with a Speedway part number that said it was a fake magneto distributor. It came with instructions. Obviously, it had been installed before, but it looks brand new. I'm reading the instructions, looking at what I got in my hand, and the wiring's different. I have a red and a white wire coming out of it, and that's it, on a 2-prong plug. They tell you can have 3 wires in the different colors. It has a phone number right on the box. Now, the magneto itself never says Joe Hunt on it. It is a Vertex mag, but I call up Joe Hunt, get the tech guy. He's like, that's not us. I told him what I had for electronic conversion inside. He says, it's not us. Clearly, somebody bought one, maybe had trouble with this one, bought the Joe Hunt unit, put it in their rig, put this one in the box and sold it. You see that a lot. Same with the carburetors. The carburetors are very low use. They're Holley blower carbs, 600 CFM, with a small block Chevy with a 671 calibration, whatever that says. But they're actual blower boost reference carburetors. They've been run, but only a little bit. Deciphering, because they came in a box, a Holley box, with a part number. The part number didn't match the carburetors. Clearly, the guy bought, these have the choke horns, and he's got the choke tied open with a piece of wire. The boxes I have are for the same carburetor without the choke horn. Clearly, he didn't like these, whatever reason, bought another set, put these in the box, and sold them. This happens a lot. I take my Sharpie and cross out the original part number and write on what it actually is, because one, to remind myself, and two, to warn anybody else that's buying it, but that's just me. Moving on. The blower itself. It has Y end caps. I can see that. It's an old style drive, but that's okay. It was paid to be freshened or built. Apparently my buddy had the end caps and the rotors. He didn't have a case. Now, if you go online, a complete gasket set for $671, good quality with seals and everything, is $20 or $30. You don't need to goosh out 3 tubes of RTV, you know I love that stuff, and leave it hanging out. Because typically your blower is a piece of jewelry. It's not spray painted with silver paint. But I could see that when I saw a picture of it. I couldn't tell if it was natural aluminum, which is my choice. This is natural aluminum, this piece here. I'm good with that. That's silver paint, that's silver paint. The end cap, I think, is natural. So I wanted to see what was in there anyway. It has a drain and a fill. You can't see it. It does not have a vent. There's oil in this cover. You have grease bearings in the back, greased bearings. So I will take it apart, buy a gasket set. My brother happens to be a former Detroit diesel mechanic, and I'm sure he can give me some wisdom as to what I need to know, because I've never owned a blower, never had one apart. But it sounds like fun to me, and I will clean up the case to the point where it can just be natural. The drive itself, I've done the math on the pulleys. Now, if you want blower wine, you want the 1/2-inch pitch belt, and that's what this is. You want pulleys that don't have holes drilled in them. A lot of times they drill tiny pinholes to help cool the belt, I suppose, but it also kills some of the noise. This is probably as loud as it gets, 3 inches wide, 1/2-inch pitch. I just stuck this stuff on here moments ago. Non-compatible, of course. The upper pulley needs to come out about this width. The adjuster won't clear it between here and here. And everything else seems to line up okay. This is a gap here that'll be filled with the lower pulley. This is a 2-groove lower pulley, so you can drive some accessories. This has been butchered, but this register does not fit the pulley, and this does not fit my harmonic balancer, so I have a lathe. We can fix that. I'm okay with it. It's raw material. You gotta laugh. Well, I guess I'll keep talking. I wanted to stop and take a drink. It does have an ATI super damper that does not have a register, so again, I can make this work. It's going to be all right. Things you can't see, he threw in the scoop. He had it up in his attic next to baby Jesus in a manger. I got the air cleaners that should hold this thing on. The spacing is right. I have the linkage. I have an old Deist or Diced explosion hold down. I probably won't use it, but it's kind of cool. I might, you never know, just for looks. Lots of trinkets. I just stuck a couple of these aluminum studs that would break if the blower popped. It has this manifold, is polished, slightly used, but does have the blow off on it in case you have a hiccup. Should be interesting. It's a project. More so than I expected, but really not unexpected at all. So I think now I'm going to go in and watch highlights from Hollywood Nights, you know, when the Duke is racing the Cobra with Project X. And just a quick side by, if you watch the scene, when he hits second or third gear, you see a puff of smoke come out of Project X. He actually put the fan through the radiator. I believe he missed a gear. They had to teach him how to drive as standard to do the movie. And if you watch, he had a little trouble with it. But anyway, thanks for watching. I've out-talked my clicker, so I'm going to walk around unless it works. And I'll catch you later.